Before we begin, where are you watching from today? Drop a comment below. If you love stories about justice, hidden power, and accountability, make sure to hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe for more incredible true stories. Your support means everything. Now let's get into it. You don't belong here. Those 4 words, spoken with absolute certainty by mall security guard Derek Mitchell, would become the most expensive mistake of his career. He was staring at a young black woman in casual clothes, her arms full of shopping bags from the high-end stores that lined the polished corridors of Riverside Galleria, the most exclusive shopping destination in suburban Atlanta. To Derek, she was obviously a shoplifter. Maybe she'd used stolen credit cards. Maybe she was part of one of those organized retail theft rings he'd been warned about in training. It didn't matter. What mattered was that people like her, young, black, dressed too casually for this neighborhood, didn't shop at stores where a single handbag cost more than most people's monthly rent. He was going to do his job. He was going to stop her. And he was going to feel like a hero doing it. What Derek Mitchell didn't know, what he couldn't have imagined in his wildest nightmares, was that the woman he was about to publicly accuse of theft wasn't just any shopper. She was Simone Richards, the 29-year-old CEO of Meridian Properties Group, the real estate development company that owned not just this mall, but 17 other luxury retail properties across the Southeast. And in exactly 20 minutes, Derek's entire world would collapse in the most spectacular fashion imaginable. The afternoon sun streamed through the massive skylight of Riverside Galleria's main atrium, casting geometric patterns across the gleaming Italian marble floors. The 3-story shopping center was an architectural marvel, all soaring ceilings, cascading water features, and designer boutiques whose window displays looked like modern art installations. Simone Richards walked slowly through the ground floor corridor, savoring a rare moment of anonymity. She'd spent the morning in back-to-back video conferences with architects and city planners, discussing the company's next major development project. Her afternoon was supposed to be more meetings, budget reviews, tenant negotiations, the endless parade of decisions that came with running a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio. But she'd canceled everything. Sometimes you needed to step away from the spreadsheets and walk your properties. Feel them. See them through your customers' eyes. So she'd changed out of her usual executive attire, the tailored suits and designer heels that signaled power and position, and slipped into jeans, sneakers, and a simple black t-shirt. She'd pulled her natural hair back into a casual ponytail and left her briefcase in the car. Today, she wasn't the CEO. She was just another shopper. And it felt liberating. Simone had made 3 stops so far. At Nordstrom, she'd picked up a birthday gift for her mother, a beautiful silk scarf the sales associate had wrapped with care. At Sephora, she'd restocked her favorite lipstick. And at the Apple store, she'd finally replaced her cracked phone screen protector. The shopping bags in her hands represented maybe $400 worth of purchases. Nothing extravagant. Nothing that would raise eyebrows in a mall where the average transaction was probably double that. She was heading toward the parking garage exit when she felt it, that prickling sensation on the back of her neck that told her she was being watched. Simone slowed her pace, her business instincts kicking in. In her line of work, you developed a 6th sense for trouble. She glanced casually over her shoulder. A security guard was following her. Not discreetly either. He was maybe 20 feet behind, his hand resting on his belt radio, his eyes locked on her with the kind of focused intensity that made Simone's stomach tighten. She knew that look. She'd seen it countless times throughout her life. It was the look that said, "You don't belong here." Simone kept walking, her mind already calculating possibilities. Maybe he was following someone else. Maybe she was being paranoid. But her gut told her otherwise, and she'd learned long ago to trust her instincts. Sure enough, as she approached the parking garage entrance, the security guard accelerated his pace. "Ma'am," he called out, his voice sharp and authoritative. "Ma'am, I need you to stop." Simone turned slowly, keeping her expression neutral despite the anger already building in her chest. The security guard was in his mid-30s, white, with a buzz cut and a physical presence that suggested he enjoyed using his authority. His name tag read, Derek Mitchell, head of security. "Can I help you?" Simone asked calmly. Derek's eyes swept over her, taking in the casual clothes, the shopping bags, her natural hair. His lip curled slightly, a micro-expression of disgust so quick most people would have missed it. But Simone caught it. She'd spent a lifetime catching those tiny tells. "I need to see your receipts," Derek said, not bothering with pleasantries. Simone's eyebrows rose. "My receipts? For everything in those bags?" Derek gestured at her purchases with barely concealed contempt. "We've had reports of suspicious activity in the stores you just visited." Simone felt the familiar heat of humiliation spreading through her chest. She'd been shopping in luxury retail environments since she was a teenager, back when her mother cleaned houses in neighborhoods like this one. She knew exactly what suspicious activity meant when directed at a black woman carrying designer shopping bags. "What kind of suspicious activity?" Simone asked, her voice still calm but gaining an edge. Derek's jaw tightened. He clearly hadn't expected to be questioned. "That's not your concern. What is your concern is complying with mall security procedures. Show me the receipts or come with me to the security office." By now, other shoppers had begun to notice the confrontation. A small crowd was forming at a distance, people pausing mid-stride to watch the drama unfold. Simone could feel their stares, could sense them making assumptions about who she was and what she'd done. "I'd like to understand what I'm being accused of," Simone said evenly. Derek took a step closer, his body language shifting from authoritative to aggressive. "I'm not accusing you of anything yet. But your refusal to cooperate is making you look guilty." Simone's hands tightened on her shopping bags. Every instinct told her to reveal who she was, to end this humiliation immediately. But another part of her, the part that had spent her entire career fighting against exactly this kind of prejudice, wanted to see how far Derek would take this. How far the system she technically oversaw would fail her when she looked like just another black woman in the wrong place. "These are my personal belongings," Simone said slowly. "And I don't appreciate being harassed while shopping in a place where I've done nothing wrong." Derek's face flushed with anger. "Oh, so now you're claiming harassment? Let me tell you something, lady. I've worked mall security for 12 years, and I know a shoplifter when I see one. The way you were moving through those stores, the way you kept looking around." "I was looking at merchandise," Simone interrupted. "Which is what people do when they shop. Don't get smart with me." Derek grabbed his radio. "Michael, it's Derek. I've got a situation at the East parking garage entrance. Suspected retail theft, non-compliant subject. Need backup." Simone's eyes widened. "You're calling backup? For asking you to explain why you're harassing me?" "I'm calling backup because you're being uncooperative and I have reasonable suspicion that you've committed a crime." The crowd around them had grown larger now. Simone could see shoppers recording on their phones, capturing every moment of her public humiliation. Part of her was glad, let there be a record of this, but mostly she felt the deep, bone-tired exhaustion of being black in America, where shopping while black was apparently still a crime. "I want to speak to your supervisor," Simone said firmly. Derek laughed, a harsh sound devoid of humor. "My supervisor? Lady, I am the supervisor. I'm the head of security for this entire mall. So you're going to deal with me." Within minutes, another security guard arrived, a younger man who looked uncomfortable with the situation. Derek immediately launched into his version of events, painting Simone as aggressive and uncooperative while conveniently omitting his own aggressive approach. "Just show us the receipts," the younger guard said quietly, clearly trying to de-escalate. "It'll take 2 minutes and then you can go." Simone took a slow breath. She could end this now. She could pull out her phone, make one call, and watched these men's faces change from condescending to terrified. But something stopped her. She wanted them to know, really know, what it felt like to be so confident in your prejudice that you couldn't see the truth standing right in front of you. "Fine," Simone said, setting her bags down. "But I want it noted that I'm complying under duress. I've done nothing wrong, and this entire interaction has been discriminatory." Derek smirked. "Sure it has. That's what they all say." Simone pulled out her receipts, holding them out for Derek to inspect. He snatched them from her hand, examining each one with theatrical suspicion, as if certain he'd find something incriminating. His face fell progressively as he realized every receipt was legitimate, every purchase properly paid for. "These stores," Derek said slowly. "How did you pay?" "Credit card," Simone replied. "Is that a problem?" "I'll need to verify the card matches your ID." Simone felt her control slipping. "You're joking." "Do I look like I'm joking?" Derek's smirk had returned. He'd lost the battle over the receipts, but he wasn't ready to admit defeat. "For all I know, that's a stolen card. Show me your ID and the card you used." "This is racial profiling," Simone said, her voice low and dangerous. "And you know it." "This is security protocol," Derek shot back. "And if you refuse to cooperate, I'll have to detain you until the police arrive." That was the line. The moment Derek Mitchell made the biggest mistake of his career. Because Simone Richards had had enough. She pulled out her wallet slowly, deliberately. But instead of showing Derek her credit card, she extracted a business card. Simple. Elegant. Heavy cardstock with raised lettering. She held it out to Derek, who took it with a confused frown. For a moment, there was silence. Derek's eyes scanned the card once. Twice. His face went from confused to pale to absolutely white. The business card read: Simone Richards, Chief Executive Officer, Meridian Properties Group. And in smaller text below: Owner and Operator, Riverside Galleria and 17 Associated Properties. Derek's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. The younger guard leaned over to look at the card, and his eyes went wide. That's not. Derek stammered. Not what? Simone's voice was ice cold now, all pretense of patience gone. Not possible. Not believable. What exactly is so shocking about me owning this mall, Mr. Mitchell? The crowd that had gathered was completely silent now, dozens of phone cameras capturing every second of Derek's humiliation. I didn't know. Derek's voice had lost all its authority, replaced by panic. You didn't know because you didn't ask, Simone said, her words precise and cutting. You saw a young black woman in casual clothes and you assumed, what? That I was a criminal. That someone like me couldn't possibly afford to shop here. That I don't belong in a mall that I literally own. Ms. Richards, be quiet. Simone's command was absolute. Derek's mouth snapped shut. I came here today to walk my property. To see it through a customer's eyes. And what I discovered is that my head of security is a racist who racially profiles shoppers based on nothing but his own prejudice. The younger guard had backed away, distancing himself from the disaster. Other shoppers were openly gasping now, the full weight of the situation dawning on them. I can explain, Derek tried again. Explain what? That you've been doing this to other customers? That I'm just the first one who happened to own the building? Simone's eyes blazed. How many other people have you harassed, Derek? How many other black shoppers have you followed, accused, humiliated? Derek said nothing, but the guilt on his face was answer enough. You're fired, Simone said simply. Effective immediately. Give me your badge, your radio, and your keys. Security will escort you off the property, and you'll never work in any Meridian Properties facility again. Please, Derek's voice cracked. Please, Ms. Richards, I have a family, I have a mortgage. You should have thought about that before you decided to use your badge as a weapon to harass innocent people. Simone turned to the younger guard. What's your name? Michael Rodriguez, ma'am, the younger guard said nervously. Michael, call the Meridian Corporate Security Office. Have them send someone to take Mr. Mitchell's credentials and escort him from the property. Then I want you to retrieve all security footage from today, every camera angle of this interaction. I want a full report on my desk by Monday morning detailing every incident of racial profiling or discrimination you've witnessed from Mr. Mitchell or any other security personnel. Yes, ma'am, Michael said, already reaching for his radio. Simone turned back to Derek, who looked like he might cry. You humiliated me in front of dozens of witnesses. You accused me of crimes I didn't commit. You made assumptions based purely on the color of my skin. And you did it with such confidence, such certainty that you were right. She stepped closer, her voice dropping but losing none of its power. That's the privilege you've been operating with, Derek. The privilege of never having to question whether someone is judging you based on your skin color. The privilege of assuming your suspicions are legitimate rather than racist. That privilege? It ends today. 2 uniformed corporate security officers arrived within minutes, having been dispatched from the main office. They approached Derek with professional courtesy but firm authority. Mr. Mitchell, we need you to surrender your credentials and come with us, one of them said. Derek looked at Simone one last time, his eyes pleading. I'm sorry. No, Simone said coldly. You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry you got caught. There's a difference. As Derek was escorted away, walking the same path Simone had walked just minutes before, but now under very different circumstances, Simone turned to address the crowd that had gathered. I apologize to everyone who witnessed that, she said, her voice carrying through the atrium. Riverside Galleria is supposed to be a welcoming place for all shoppers, regardless of race, age, or how you're dressed. What happened here today was unacceptable, and it will not be tolerated going forward. A few people in the crowd applauded. Others looked uncomfortable, perhaps recognizing their own biases in Derek's actions. Simone gathered her shopping bags and headed toward the exit, her mind already racing with the changes she would implement. This wasn't just about firing one prejudiced security guard. This was about examining every policy, every practice, every assumption that allowed someone like Derek to operate unchecked for years. The aftermath. The video of Derek Mitchell's confrontation with Simone Richards went viral within hours. Multiple angles, filmed by different shoppers, showed the entire encounter, from Derek's initial aggressive approach to Simone's calm dismantling of his authority to the moment he realized exactly who he'd been harassing. By Monday morning, the story had been picked up by local news stations, then national outlets. The headlines varied. Mall security guard racially profiles woman, doesn't realize she owns the mall. CEO exposes racial profiling at her own shopping center. Black woman fired security guard who accused her of shoplifting, she was his boss. Simone spent the weekend fielding calls from media outlets, civil rights organizations, and corporate partners. But she also spent time doing something more important, reviewing years of security footage and incident reports from Riverside Galleria and her other properties. What she found made her blood run cold. Derek Mitchell hadn't been an isolated incident. He was part of a pattern. Security footage showed him and other guards consistently following black shoppers, stopping them at disproportionate rates, subjecting them to scrutiny that white shoppers never faced. The incident reports told an even darker story. Over the past 3 years, Derek had filed 47 suspicious activity reports. 42 of them involved black shoppers. Of those 42 reports, exactly 0 had resulted in actual evidence of shoplifting or fraud. Simone called an emergency meeting of her executive team. We have a systemic problem, she told them, her laptop displaying slide after slide of damning statistics. And I'm not going to pretend this is just about one bad security guard. This is about the culture we've allowed to develop in our properties. Her CFO, a middle-aged white man named Robert Chen, shifted uncomfortably. "Simone, I understand you're upset about what happened, but we need to be careful about overreacting. Derek was a problem employee, but that doesn't mean." 42 false reports, Simone interrupted. 42 times Derek targeted black shoppers with no justification. And no one caught it. No one reviewed his reports and said, "This looks like a pattern." So yes, Robert, it does mean something. It means our oversight was non-existent. Her VP of Operations, a black woman named Kenya Washington, nodded vigorously. "I've been saying this for years. We need mandatory bias training for all security personnel. We need clear guidelines on when stops are justified. We need accountability. We need all of that and more," Simone agreed. "Starting now. Here's what's going to happen." She outlined her plan with the precision of someone who'd spent the entire weekend preparing for this moment. Immediate termination review of all security personnel with similar patterns in their incident reports. Mandatory quarterly anti-bias training for all security, retail staff, and management. Implementation of an anonymous reporting system for customers who experience discrimination. Creation of an independent review board to investigate all discrimination complaints. Regular audits of security practices across all Meridian properties. Partnership with local civil rights organizations to develop best practices. "This is going to cost money," Robert warned. "So does settling discrimination lawsuits," Simone countered. "So does the reputational damage from viral videos of our security guards racially profiling customers. And more importantly, it's the right thing to do." Over the next month, Simone's plan was implemented across all Meridian Properties facilities. 3 more security guards were terminated for documented patterns of discriminatory behavior. 2 property managers were demoted for failing to address complaints. The changes were swift and comprehensive. But Simone knew the real work was just beginning. Culture change didn't happen with a memo and some training videos. It required constant vigilance, honest conversations, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. She thought about Derek Mitchell sometimes. She'd heard through the grapevine that he was struggling to find new employment, that his name had become synonymous with racial profiling in the security industry. Part of her felt a twinge of sympathy. He had a family, bills to pay. But then she thought about all the other Derek Mitchells out there. The ones who hadn't been caught yet. The ones who wielded their small amounts of power to make life harder for people who looked different from them. And her sympathy evaporated. Derek Mitchell had made his choices. And now he was living with the consequences. 3 months later. Simone stood in the refurbished security office at Riverside Galleria, watching the new team of guards go through their shift briefing. The office had been completely redesigned, gone were the harsh fluorescent lights and bare walls, replaced with comfortable lighting and posters outlining the mall's new commitment to inclusive security practices. The new head of security, a black woman named Valerie Thompson with 20 years of experience in law enforcement and community policing, was addressing her team. "Remember," Valerie said, "our job is to keep everyone safe. Not to make assumptions. Not to profile. Not to allow our biases, and we all have them, to dictate who we stop and who we don't. If you're not sure whether a stop is justified, ask yourself, would I stop someone of a different race in this same situation? If the answer is no, then don't make the stop." Simone smiled. This was what change looked like. Not perfect, not complete, but moving in the right direction. Her phone buzzed with a text from Kenya, her VP of Operations. "The new incident report statistics are in. Black shoppers now represent 18% of stops, exactly proportional to their percentage of mall traffic. Down from 67% last quarter. Progress. Progress indeed." But Simone knew the work would never truly be done. Vigilance was the price of justice. As she walked through the mall that afternoon, this time in one of her usual power suits, her CEO credentials clearly visible, Simone noticed the difference. Security guards nodded respectfully as she passed. Shoppers of all races seemed more relaxed, less worried about being followed or watched. One young black woman caught her eye, arms full of shopping bags, browsing a store window without fear. Without that constant low-level anxiety of wondering if someone was watching, assuming, judging, that woman would never know that her peaceful shopping trip was partly thanks to another black woman's very different experience 3 months ago. She would never know about Derek Mitchell, about viral videos, about emergency executive meetings and policy overhauls. And that was exactly how it should be. Real change was invisible, it was the absence of discrimination, not just the punishment of discriminators. Simone pulled out her phone and opened her notes app. She'd been working on something for weeks now, a keynote speech for an upcoming retail industry conference. The title, Racial Profiling in Retail, Why Your Security Policies Are Costing You Customers. She added one more line to her draft. The 8th story, the story beneath the surface, is that racism in retail isn't just wrong. It's bad business. It costs you customers, lawsuits, and reputation. But more importantly, it costs people their dignity. And that's a price no one should have to pay just to go shopping. Simone saved the note and slipped her phone back into her pocket. She had a meeting with her legal team in 20 minutes to discuss the discrimination lawsuit they were defending, not defending them all, but rather joining as a plaintiff alongside a customer who'd been racially profiled at one of their competitors' properties. Sometimes the best way to change an industry was to make discrimination so publicly, financially, reputationally expensive that no one could afford to continue doing it. Derek Mitchell had learned that lesson the hard way. And if Simone had her way, a lot of other people were about to learn it too. She walked toward the parking garage, passing the exact spot where Derek had stopped her 3 months ago. A young security guard nodded respectfully as she passed. "Good afternoon, Ms. Richards." "Good afternoon," Simone replied with a smile. No accusations. No assumptions. No interrogation. Just a simple, respectful greeting between two people in a public space. It was such a small thing. Such a simple thing. But it represented everything. Thank you for watching this powerful story about racial profiling, hidden power, and the importance of accountability. When Derek Mitchell saw Simone Richards, he saw only stereotypes and assumptions. He never imagined that the woman he was harassing owned the entire mall, and had the power to end his career with a single decision. But this story isn't just about one security guard's downfall. It's about systemic change, about using power responsibly, and about fighting discrimination wherever it exists. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more incredible tales of justice and transformation. And remember, everyone you meet has a story, a history, and a humanity that deserves respect, regardless of how they look or what you assume about them.